Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for our May SugarCRM user group. Today we're going to be talking about relationship analytics. And as with all of our user groups, if you have questions, if you have comments about the topic we're discussing, please feel free to interact. Type in that chat box. We want to hear from you, and we have two sugar experts with us today who will get those questions answered for you. So, quick intro. We have Megan, who's our sugar trainer and business analyst, and Justin, who's our sugar practice manager, who will be talking to you guys today about relationship analytics. All right, so our plan for today is to take a look at TrustSphere, which is a relationship analytics tool. We're going to start really basic. What is TrustSphere in the first place? How does it work? Why do we love it so much? And then we'll do a demo of how it works with sugar. We'll also, as always, talk about new releases from SugarCRM, as well as take any questions that you have. So relationship analytics. So TrustSphere is a relationship analytics tool that can be added to Sugar. If you don't know what relationship analytics is, it's essentially just analyzing communication streams between people within your organization and people outside your organization. So taking a look at how often, for example, I'm emailing with somebody or talking with somebody, and how often they're returning my calls or emails. And TrustSphere takes that analytics data and collects it, first of all, and then turns it into usable reports and graphs that you can use to better understand how you are relating to your customers.
The primary function of TrustSphere is to monitor email messages, and it does that by talking directly to email servers, whether that's Google, Exchange, Office 365, or IBM Lotus Notes. It does not track the email details like what people are talking about in their emails. It's just the metadata, the to, from, date, and subject. And it can also be customized to track other activities such as phone or social media. To set it up, TrustSphere requires just a basic user with message tracking and view-only recipients access rights. And then they save all that metadata and build the cool charts you're about to see. So why TrustSphere? Well, a lot of times you may not know exactly what everyone in your company is doing. And when you're trying to make sales or keep customers happy, it's always nice to know who has relationships with whom, whether it's with your prospects or customers. So if you're looking at doing some prospecting and you get a list of organizations in your lead list, you can see who may already know those prospects based on who's been emailing back and forth. In addition, TrustSphere is looking at your email server, so it's monitoring the emails of all of the employees in your company, not just the Sugar users. So if you have a small team of Sugar users at an extremely large company, you could get access to warm introductions via someone's emailing someone at one of your prospects for golf games, and they're not recording that data to CRM. I mean, you could still see that know someone about getting that warm introduction. And the stats show that 2%, there's a 2% success rate for cold calls versus a 40% success rate for warm calls.
Another thing you can get from TrustSphere is a bit more the really great graphics that we'll see when we get to the demo, so that you can keep an eye on key relationship metrics with your customers or your prospects. You're not going to get blindsided. You're going to notice when a customer goes dark or a prospect goes dark and suddenly stops returning your emails.
And you can see the communication flows and patterns so that you can get a better feel for what that relationship really looks like. And again, as Justin mentioned, this is going to track all people within your company and your customer or prospect's company, not just people that you have logged as contacts in Sugar, not just people on your end who have Sugar licenses, but any emails that are being sent between their company and yours. One of the ways you can leverage that tracking is to identify unregistered contacts, people that you are emailing, people within your company are emailing them who are not Sugar contacts. As you probably know, most people don't put in all their contacts in Sugar. It's always a problem people are trying to solve within Sugar or any CRM product. How do I make sure my sales team is actually logging their contacts into CRM so that we can keep track of who we know and we can market to them and do all those good things we want with our contact list? TrustSphere did a case study with one of their customers and found that using this missing contacts functionality within TrustSphere, 70% more relationships were found and entered into CRM than just using CRM on its own.
TrustSphere can also ease the handover when you're transitioning employees, whether someone just got promoted or you're replacing someone with someone else. The new employee doesn't necessarily always know who their predecessor was talking to, especially if, as Gartner says, less than 10% of customer interactions are employee, and I can come in and see who my predecessor was talking to. I can easily see who my high priority targets are that I need to start building relationships with to either move a sale forward or keep a current customer happy. That information of knowing who I need to talk to, according to the IDC, can increase the productivity of a new hire from 90 days to 30 days to really get them up to speed and start doing the job you hired them to do.
All right, well, this all sounds pretty great. So let's go ahead and actually pull up Sugar and take a look at what TrustSphere looks like inside of Sugar. We're actually doing this out of our CRM system. We've been using TrustSphere since late October, early November, somewhere around that time frame. We're going to not worry about that. And when I go into Sugar with TrustSphere installed and set up, one thing I'm going to notice is that I have a new TrustSphere tab on my layout where I can see at a really quick glance some high-level details. And these are things you could have on your list view, for example. So when you're looking at a list of accounts, you could see what was the last contact date for this account? When was the last time anyone on my team communicated with anyone on their team? If I want to get a little bit more specific, I can see what was the last time we had an inbound communication from them, it was the last time we had an outbound communication to them, and who was that last contact person. There's also a link here to log into TrustView and get some additional reports, which we're going to be showing a little bit later on in the demo. I really like the ease of use that comes from just having that link immediately available on the screen here. Besides these fields that you can see at an account or a contact level with TrustSphere, there's a number of dashlets that come along with TrustSphere's product for Sugar. And so you can see those along the right side of my screen here. You could choose to integrate these in with other dashboards. You wouldn't have to have a dedicated TrustSphere dashboard the way I have today. So if there's one or two that you want to use along with other dashboards, you could certainly mix and match those all together into a single dashboard. First dashboards here to me, really a quick glance, the health of my relationship with a company. So the one at the top here, this activity status chart, is showing me at a quick glance how many contacts I'm in communication with at a company, in this case with SugarCRM, and working on moment. So there's contacts that we're really actively communicating. I had an email from in a while, and 3 where it's been so long they're classified as just stopped communication. Stop and ask myself why. Why are we slowing down communications with a few people? Maybe we're not working on a deal with a certain salesperson right now, or maybe It's someone who we had an active project with, but that project has completed. Another way we can get a quick health check is by looking at the overall monthly volume of emails. There's a few things I really like glancing at this one for. The first one is just to see the overall pattern of communications. How many emails have been going back and forth between myself or my company and this company? And how has that changed over time? Is that email volume increasing all of a sudden or decreasing all of a sudden? Again, that's a quick chance to stop and ask yourself why and really think about what's going on in that relationship right now. If my email volume suddenly drops off 1 month, is there something wrong with this relationship? Do I need to reach out to them and figure out what's going on? Or maybe it's just that the main person we're working with on their end is on vacation this month. But again, it's just that chance to stop and ask yourself. I also like this one because it separates out the inbound versus outbound communication. So you can look to see, are you always the one reaching out to them and they don't respond back to you? Are they always the ones reaching out to you and you're not doing a good enough job responding back to them? Or is it a pretty balanced communication stream? And that cadence of communication is actually one of the factors that feeds into this next chart, the relationship strengths. So this one analyzes on a more person-by-person basis who here at Technology Advisors has the strongest relationship with Sugar. And that's based on frequency of communication, how many emails are they exchanging, as well as that cadence. If I send them an email, how quickly are they going to reply? Are they going to reply at all? Will it take them 3 days to get back to me, or is this a relationship that they value and they're responding quickly to me? Then there's a couple of dashlets you can use to get a better picture of recent communications with somebody. Again, TrustSphere isn't tracking all of the details of the emails, just to, from, and date, and potentially a subject. I don't think we even have the subject tracking turned on. So we're just looking at email volume, how many emails are going back and forth between us and other people. And we can see in this communication review when the most recent communications were with an individual person. So when's the last time we exchanged an email with any of these people? Or if I want to go into a little bit more detail and see individual emails that have gone back and forth, I can go ahead and see this customer interactions 360 will show me the individual emails back and forth between various people. And again, just the emails that have been sent without the details of what they contained or what they were about. And this last one, again, is probably my favorite. I like this feature in the Outlook plugin as well. If you were part of our Outlook user group, you heard me talk about the sidebar as a quick tool to identify missing contacts. TrustSphere has similar functionality built into it. And again, what I really like on the TrustSphere side is it's not just tracking the people who are CRM users. So maybe someone on my accounting team is emailing with somebody on their accounting team. My salesperson has never corresponded with that person directly, but that is still an important contact for us to keep track of, to know about. And so that's going to show up here in this missing contact list. I can see on this account there are 7 other people that we're emailing with from BPM Online. These are identified based off of the company domain name, so we have other contacts in this account with this domain, and these are additional people that we've been emailing. I can even look and see when was the last time we had an email with this person. I want to understand a little bit more about that relationship before I add them. I can do that quickly and easily, add that contact from here, and it will fill in their account name and their email. Now, obviously, I need to know a little bit more about this person who, in this case, I don't have their full email address, their full name and their email address. I happen to know this guy's name is Max. And so I can quickly add him into CRM as a contact and get him logged and part of my system. So those are all different views and dashlets that TrustSphere has built, or TrustSphere has built to work directly inside of Sugar. There's also additional reports that you can run directly within TrustSphere. By clicking this link here, that's going to take you to the login screen to get to the report generator.
The first report here we see is the Handover Report, and this is for our wonderful Deneen Pontarelli here. So we could see who she's been talking to and really how much she's been talking to each of those people. as well as the strength of those relationships, which is again tracking how quickly people are responding to each other, as well as the sent and the received, things like that. We also have the ability to filter on any of these column headings, whether it's the domain, the contact address, or the date. And we can, of course, save search criteria, export to PDF. So if you want to build reports where you're monitoring different employees or getting a sense of what your teams are doing, you can quickly get that within the TrustSphere view here. And of course, it's also exportable to PDF. Probably one of the coolest things that TrustSphere does is build charts that display who knows who, as well as how strong that relationship is. Here we're looking at our salesperson Molly's relationship with SugarCRM. And we can see who the strongest relationships are, as well as everyone she's ever emailed. Now we could also see who else knows some of these contacts by right-clicking on them and expanding those relationships. Looks like our login may have timed out here.
Yes, it does.
It's a very secure system. Logs you out after some time of inactivity. So here I can also see Megan, Sam. Megan and I all know Eric at Sugar. In addition, we can zoom in, zoom out, pan around the screen to see those different relationships in more detail. If you click on the blue bar in the right column, you can filter these records, change the layouts, group, filter, select your traffic types. Again, you'll remember we can track the emails, phone calls, or even some social medias and instant messaging. And then one of the coolest things is probably the play button at the bottom of the screen that hopefully we can get to work over GoToMeeting, so you can see how those relationships are changing over time.
All right, I think that wraps up our demo of TrustSphere. If you've got any questions about that, feel free to throw those into the questions panel. We'll happily take those. I'm going to get my PowerPoint back open here because it crashed when I tried to exit out of it earlier, and we're going to talk a little bit about Sugar releases. Just last week, Sugar released version 7.9.0, which is a pretty major release for Sugar. There's a lot of new functionality and enhancements built into this release, so I definitely encourage you to check out the full release notes and not just rely on my highlights reel here. A few of the highlights, first of all, the quotes module has been moved to Sidecar. Don't know if you remember back to our user group about Sidecar, which was about a year ago, I think, already. But Sidecar simply means the new user interface within Sugar, where you've got the dashboard and the activity stream and the preview button and all those great new functions that Sugar added within the last few years. And so the quotes module was in backwards compatibility mode. It is not anymore, starting with 7.9.0. They built some interesting new functionality in order to support the quote builder in Sidecar, which is really interesting and fun to take a look at. They've also started the process of moving the reports module into Sidecar. The report builder and the report viewer have not changed, but to start that process off, the reports list view has been moved to Sidecar. That's going to give you the ability to use the modern search filtering tool instead of the old basic and advanced search tool when you are searching your reports list. Also included in 7.9 was an enhancement for global search. Global search also now supports using keywords such as and, or not when you're searching. So you can combine multiple search terms together and better identify how to combine those into a single search. Sugar also moved the help dashboard functionality. So rather than having the help dashboard take over your dashboard within Sugar on any particular module, they moved that to a standalone pane, which is accessed through the footer. So there's now a help link in the footer, and what that will do is open up this help pane. The messages are still set the same way, so you can modify them through, I think, simple code customization if you want to put specific messaging in there. But the basic help support text is still there. It just moves around a little bit. Personally, I'm excited about some of the advanced workflow enhancements that came out with this product, or this release. That's going to help with ease of use for advanced workflow, as well as moving a little bit closer to parity with legacy workflow. Some of the features that legacy workflow had, which advanced workflow could not do, they've started addressing those within this release. Particularly the changes to type of trigger condition or the field changes type of trigger condition are now available. And there are a number of back-end changes as well, which I think Justin is going to expand on a bit.
Yes, thank you, Megan. The back-end changes that they've implemented are being done to prepare to support for PHP 7, which runs on the web server that runs Sugar. Sugar 7.8 currently supports PHP 5.6, and Sugar 7.9 is going to, once they release the next service pack, support PHP 7. And the upgrade to PHP will increase security and performance of Sugar. Also, in order to help performance, Sugar now supports the databases that Sugar supports, and that's something called SQL prepared statements. So they're essentially caching your queries that the database is running while it's related to a customer, and that should help increase performance. And also with regards to global search is run by an open source product called Elasticsearch, and they're upgrading the version of that in order to increase performance as well as prepare for new functionality down the road.
All right, and as always, there were also a number of bug fixes in 7.9, so if you were waiting for a bug to fix, you might want to check the status and see if that's been fixed with this release. Besides 7.9, the other kind of big release we've had since our last user group is Sugar Mobile 5.0. Sugar Mobile 5.0 introduced a streamlined login process. They made the login process a little bit easier to navigate for users and also allow you to email out a deep link that presets the Sugar instance URL, so your users don't have to do that piece on their own devices. On Apple devices, on iOS devices, they've added support for the Touch ID function, so you can now log into the app using your thumbprint or fingerprint. And they've also revised the detail view screen within the mobile layout to make it a little bit easier to navigate. Rather than having the details up at the top of the screen kind of crunched together, and then the other views, the sub-panel views and the activity stream views down at the bottom of the screen, they've merged that all into one single layout with multiple tabs based on what type of information you want to view. There are a couple of small bug fix releases that came out shortly after that, and there was also a new Sugar connector for Marketo version 3.1.3. That includes bug fixes, support for 7.9, and support for some upcoming Marketo API changes. So if you are using the Sugar Marketo connector, I would definitely encourage you to check that out to make sure you're ready before Marketo changes their API.
Okay, thank you, Justin and Megan. We do have just a couple questions here before we wrap up. How hard is it to get TrustSphere up and running inside of Sugar? Does it take a lot of configuration, or is it pretty much a quick install and you're ready to go?
It was a pretty quick install to get up and running in our Sugar instance. Really, it's just a bundle you install into your Sugar instance and then deploy dashlets to the dashboards as you saw Megan demo. A lot of the work is done on the TrustSphere side, where they can host TrustSphere in the cloud or on-premise, and then that TrustSphere server needs, of course, read access to your email server, as well as phone or instant messaging if you want to support those items. But once it's reading from the emails, it again reads the to, from, date, and subject, and stores all of that metadata. And the dashlets then just talk directly to that TrustSphere server, pulling data out. So a lot of the setup is done by TrustSphere, and you're just installing a bundle within Sugar.
The only thing I would add to that is it takes a month or two to start collecting that email data or that other analytics, relationship metadata before TrustSphere really becomes useful. So one of the things they recommend is go ahead and get that email setup piece done a few months ahead of installing it into Sugar, so that when you release this out to your users, there's already useful information for them there. They're not kind of like looking at it saying, well, there's nothing in my picture, so how is this useful to me?
Good point. So another question we have is about, and Justin, you briefly touched on this earlier, but is there data privacy with your CRM info that it's pulling?
Yes, again, all of that data is stored by TrustSphere, and they work around the globe, so they leverage several hosting providers, including IBM SoftLayer and Rackspace, to ensure that you can, and as I briefly mentioned, you can host it on-premise behind your own firewalls if you want a highly regulated on-premise environment.
Okay, and then looks like we have just one more question here about how it is priced.
So you can purchase TrustSphere directly from Sugar. Sugar is reselling TrustSphere as part of their packages, and that is a price of $20 per user per month. You don't have to purchase it for all your Sugar users necessarily, if not everyone needs it, if only a subset of your team will actually use TrustSphere, although there is a minimum of 10 users when you do purchase TrustSphere from Sugar.
All right, well, that's wonderful. Thank you very much for letting us know about that. I hope that this was helpful to everyone and that you will be able to join us in July when we look at quoting in Sugar. We're going to look at a couple features inside of Sugar that are good for that, and specifically we're also going to touch on the product Xperido or Xperido, however you prefer to say it. You can register via that link there, but I will also be sending you that link on the follow-up email to this event. So thank you very much, everybody, and we hope you have a wonderful afternoon.